All right, let's get started. It is a City Council study session on April 1st, 2025. The time is 2:45 p.m. Can I have a roll call?
Councilor Woodruff.
Here.
Mayor Buell.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Yazzie.
Here.
Councilor Youssef. And Councilor Bosmans. It appears that Councilor Bosmans is online, but perhaps unable to unmute. I will mark him as virtual.
Okay, we'll mark Councilor Bosmans as virtual. All right, let's start it off. Organizational stewardship. Can I have the reading of the Indigenous Land Acknowledgement? This is a call to honor and respect Indigenous sovereignty and self-determination. As residents and visitors of Durango, we are called upon to educate ourselves about the history and cultural heritage of the land we inhabit. The city of Durango is situated on the ancestral homelands and territories of the Nuchu, Ute, Jicarilla Apache, Pueblos of New Mexico, Hopi Sinom, Hopi, and Dene Navajo nations. The original stewards of this land were forcibly removed and exposed to countless atrocities by the United States government, including repeatedly broken treaties, forced assimilation, the tragic legacy of Indian boarding schools, and the loss of ancestral homelands. We recognize lasting generational trauma exists within Native communities today. We affirm the continuing importance of ancestral sites to descendant communities as integral to the living cultural landscape. This acknowledgement only becomes meaningful when combined with accountable relationships and informed actions. May this serve as a step towards inclusion and reconciliation. All right, next up we have our Financial Services Monthly Report with Elliot.
Well, thank you, Mayor and Council. Tom, do we have the financial update? Okay.
Should I just go switch?
I think he's grabbing it.
Tom, do you want us to just switch? Marty's right here. We can. Okay. We're going to switcheroo. Look at us. Agile. People are on their feet. All right. We're going to go to our Environmental Sustainability Monthly Report.
We'll have to update the agenda, but
It's fine.
I know. I'm just
You're
great. Good afternoon, Council. Marty Poole, Sustainability Manager, giving this month's update for organizational stewardship, Goal 1.3, Environmental Sustainability. The two topic areas of highlight for the month of February and into March are water. Sorry, the screen here is flickering a little bit. The topics are water conservation and transportation. So we have several updates and programs related to those areas of sustainability. Some updates for our turf program and garden in a box program. These are two incentive programs designed to encourage residents and businesses to transition from more water intensive cool season turf grasses into more water wise and water efficient landscaping. The turf grass replacement program, we piloted that last year in 2024 and have some lessons learned from that initial pilot year. This year we'll be, in response to those and trying to make the program more efficient and streamlined, we'll be focusing specifically on right-of-way parking strip turf grass and still offering rebates in the $2 to $3 per square foot range for anyone that is replacing that turf grass. I'll note that we are not addressing any areas that have existing trees. So if there's concern about how turf replacement could negatively impact trees, we're really just looking at areas that are totally just kind of barren, or not barren, but just pure turf grass and could benefit from being revitalized into other types of landscaping for water conservation and other benefits. The Garden in a Box program is new this year. We partnered with a nonprofit, Resource Central, that puts together little kits that encourage people to take that first step of do-it-yourself water-wise landscaping. Kits are available for order online right now, and we are partnering with local nurseries as well as 9R and Riverview for the kit distribution day, which will be in June. So people can, it's a really great opportunity to take that first step and dip your toes in the joys of do-it-yourself landscaping and with that emphasis on water-wise landscaping. Water conservation and planning. I am proud to announce that the city of Durango has been accepted to take part in a Growing Water Smart workshop hosted by the Sonoran Institute. So as you can see here on the map, dozens of communities throughout Colorado have gone through that workshop, but up to this point, Durango has not taken part in that program. But we will be sending a team of 8 staff members to do a 2.5 day water planning workshop hosted by the experts with the Sonoran Institute. So really looking forward for how that can jumpstart or continue the conversations of how we can most effectively manage and conserve water in our community alongside continued population growth. I also gave presentations just these past 2 weeks at the Durango Botanic Gardens, Durangoscape Conference, and the Southwest Water Conservation District Water Reimagined annual seminar, all about Durango's water consumption. On to transportation. We will be continuing the 2025, our very popular e-bike rebate program. We got a grant extension, so $99,000 more from the Colorado Energy Office, and once again, a contribution from the Lodgers Tax Council Determination Funds to continue that program for 2025. So looking forward to running that this year. We're already accepting and collecting applications. Those applications are due May 16th, and then once applications are collected and if a lottery is needed, then the rebate vouchers will be awarded and people can go buy their bikes. Again, this emphasizes people, it's an income qualified program and emphasizes getting bikes to people that would otherwise have transportation challenges, maybe don't have access to a vehicle or are transit reliant. So it gives them more opportunities to get around our town. This will likely be the last year that this grant funding is available and that we would do a program to this scale. So really trying to get as much out into the community as we can. And then some updates on the electric vehicle charging front. Happy to say we have completed the installation of 4 new level 2+ EV charging stations. So these are about 3 times faster than the existing stations. Those ones you can see in the far, in the background of the picture there, those have been there for many years now, but these stations now provide about 2 to 3 hour charging, which is perfect for visitors and people patroning our downtown restaurants and businesses. So it's kind of that middle level of charging speed. It is not as fast as the fast chargers that we have, which are designed for charging in about 30 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes, but these offer that kind of mid-level. So really happy to have 4 new stations down in our transit center. And then we are also partnering with LPEA to pilot a level 1 EV charging grant. So This is kind of a different approach to charging. Level 1 charging is literally just an outlet, same as you'd plug a vacuum into. But that type of charging is known as trickle charging. It is quite a bit slower than the level 2 charging you see here in the picture. But if you're plugged in for 8 hours or 10 hours during an entire workday, it can really offset the electricity use from your vehicle that you used during your commute. And you may ask, why would the city and LPA care about getting people to do this type of charging during the day when they could just go home and do it at night? And the answer is that daytime charging aligns with our solar power generation. And so as we see both the adoption of increased solar in our community, but also the increased adoption of electric vehicles, if everyone is charging their electric vehicles at night, that increased electrical need in our community from charging those vehicles, it's not able to make use of our increased solar capacity, right? Because the sun is not shining when people are at home. So LPA is really interested for grid stability reasons of seeing what types of programs we can employ to get more of the EV load to occur during the day. So excited to see about this program. And that is it. And back to Elliot, or questions. And then,
Yes, thank you for the presentation. Any questions? Marty also presented at the Southwest, Sustainability Alliance of the Southwest Colorado, Green Drinks.
Oh yeah, Green
Yes.
Drinks. Yeah, a little more casual.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you also presented there, and it was a pretty full house. We had a candidate forum then as well, and everyone there was just couldn't speak highly enough of Marty and how, I think the term was, Marty is amazing. And I kept on saying, yes, yes, he is. So thank you for all your hard work. We appreciate you.
I appreciate that. Thanks very much.
Yeah. All right, back to maybe financial services monthly report. There we go.
Thank you, Mayor, Council, and Tom. This is the February Financial Services Monthly Report and Departmental Update. So starting off, sales tax forecast, actual revenues were 1% below our adjusted revenue projections. Projected revenues were 2.692 million and actual revenues were 2.653. The variance to prior year revenue was about 3%, so all within the expected variance that we plan on throughout the year. Next, the general fund budget to actuals. Actual revenues were 2% above our revenue projections. Projected revenues were 2.921 million and actual revenues were 2.979 million. And the revenue variance was, again, pretty minimal. General fund budget to actuals, we were about 10% below seasonally adjusted expense projections. We projected about 2.9 million and actuals were about 4.9 million and actuals were about 4.4 million. Year to date, about the same amount, 10% below the forecasted expenses, and generally being under budget on expenses is a good thing. Next, we have the enterprise funds projected revenues to actuals. You will see that there is a stark increase over our projections. That was due to the sale of the parking lot to the train. So that was revenue received by the transit fund. Very happy for them to have that. But projected revenues were 2.2 million and actual revenues were 6.8 million. And then enterprise funds expense budgets. Actual expenses were 37% above our projections. Expenses were 2.52 million and actual expenses were 3.37 million. January was about 25% below our forecast. So year to date, enterprise funds are about 3.8%. So just a little bit of variance month to month, but it's generally leveling out and evening up. Preliminary capital budget, actual revenues were 16% below our adjusted forecast projections, which were 1.53 million, and actuals were 1.284, again, within our tolerance of variance. And we did have noticeable increase in work being done on capital projects this year with the light winter that we've had, and that does again show up in our expense budgets, where we had forecasted about 162,000 through February. We were actually able to complete more projects and have an actual expense of 1.8 million. And other financial services updates: the audit preparation is underway by our accounting team, and the 2026 internal budget kickoff is April 11th. So we're looking forward to looking to next year and making more plans. Fleet and facilities, 29 special order requests for facilities, 153 work orders closed, 161 pieces of inventory issued over the counter, 4 new trash trucks received, and 2 new plows received. EV Blazers upfit complete, and EV chargers install at PD 90% complete. And with customer service, we have a new online payment system, and we're continuing to track that for its full first month of use. And that concludes the finance update. So, questions?
Great, thanks, Elliot.
Can we go back to the enterprise revenue? So without the train lot sale, are we kind of in the ballpark of where we want to be?
Yeah,
for
yeah.
enterprise?
If we take that train lot sale out, I would want to double check on the specific percentage, but it was, I believe, within 10%.
Okay, 10%. Okay, great. Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Safety and Quality of Life Public Safety Monthly Report with the Chief.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Pro Tem Mayor, Council. My name is Bryce Current, and I'm the Durango Chief of Police. Our strategic plan focuses on safety and quality of life. Our vision is one department, one community, one Durango, committed to building trust, protecting the vulnerable, and preventing crime. An example, I just received an email about 10 minutes ago and called a resident, and she said, "Thank you for caring." After we were done with the phone call, we're going to follow up with more conversations. She's worried about a drug house, but that's really what that means, is one Durango, and calling and visiting with the community and seeing what their values are, and creating that. Our mission is to create a safe place to live, work, and play. That's through community-oriented policing, intelligence-led policing, and precision policing. So our January 2025 Part 1 crimes, and I'm going back to February also. I'm probably not going to report on the quarterly next presentation either, and so I'll provide a little bit of this last month. So our total crime, we had 16% rise over the 4-year average, and the main difference we're seeing in those numbers are the Walmart thefts have doubled. And aggravated assaults are 39% above the 4-year comparison and within the range, and only 1 month's data, but we're still going to keep an eye on that with last year's numbers and continue to target drug and alcohol offenses. So the Part 1 offenses totaled, Durango officers were victims of 3 of the 8 aggravated assaults mentioned, and 2 of the 6 burglaries were food trucks, which we've seen in previous months, and we are working directly with those owners, and they are also in contact with detectives, and we have some plans there to deal with that. Half the thefts within this, like I said, occurred at Walmart, but we're working with the managers and also the detective division on that with a plan. So February Part 1 offenses, they peaked in 24 at 83 incidents, mostly because of property crime, but they dropped sharply this last month with 60, falling below the 4-year average. Most of the drop was larceny and theft. And as far as burglary, we had 3 burglaries in February, and I know that's low. We've had 11 in 21 and 11 in 24, you can see. But very similar to 22 and 23. So we had a 56% 4-year average decrease. But the trend in February has been, if we have over 10 burglaries, we generally have a group in town that we need to focus on. And otherwise, if we have 3 or less, it's generally within the average of that month. So law enforcement were victims of 3 of the 7 aggravated assaults in February, consistent with the previous month. And even though our theft average was low, 18 of the 43 thefts occurred at Walmart. And so I'm going to give an update for the first quarter, even though I don't have all the numbers out yet on auto theft, because I thought it was significant. We had 3 stolen vehicles in January and 4 in February. But creeping up this month, we had 7. So 14 total since the beginning of the year. And so we broke it down. Every car had keys in the vehicle. 2 were puffers or warming up in the driveway. And so we're starting a social media campaign for that and get folks to lock their cars. And anybody out there listening today, I would advise the same thing. We had somebody park to pay their bills in the parking where you're not supposed to park across the street, and left their vehicle running. And there was a baby seat in the back, and went to check, and there was no baby in the back, thank goodness, but let them know. But all vehicles but 2 were recovered. One was a fraud from a dealership, and the other was lent to an employee, and those are the 2 that weren't recovered. 2 of the stolen vehicles were identified in Durango from other locations, and 2 of our vehicles were recovered in New Mexico. So 4 out of the 14 were taken by a friend or an employee or a family member. So we're working with CBI Auto Task Force also, and we're looking for a possible ring, even though it's a small ring once you break those numbers down. But we do have some intention behind that. So as far as the key takeaways on the lower level offenses, we had more warnings and citations issued, but fewer arrests, and total contacts remained elevated. And so other positive trends in February, accidents were low at 25. 31's the 4-year average, but keep in mind we had 51 in 2023, and which kind of skews the average. Probably weather is the significant contributor if you think of history there. Municipal criminal citations show a sustained enforcement focus, and that's something I like to see. So Snowdown, I commented a little bit on that the first month. We implemented a unified command structure for Snowdown this year, and we'll continue using that based on the positive debrief results that we received. So issues we noted during the debrief, we had some tethered drones that we were testing from a vendor. They were noisy and a little bit too low, probably won't use those again. And then noticed some SWAT style uniforms snuck in above Overwatch, and those were a little excessive too in the debrief. And so we're going to change that. So the overall unified command, they improved coordination, they set clear objectives, they streamlined communication, they optimized resource use and boosted efficiencies. So we'll keep working with the community partners to also block off the traffic with the event barriers, and also the train, which blends in with our town and our culture. And we received a ton of positive feedback from citizens on how safe they felt from the event with that, and we'll continue that. We have been looking at our top 10 offenders, especially with the weather warming, and there's a lot of things that start changing in Durango right now until the end of summer. And now that we have the ability to take municipal offenders to jail, the court is working through the diversion programs for our top offenders. So our top 3 are either in county jail right now or in the diversion program with the judge. The top offender has 27 citations. The next offender has 15, and she's the one in the judge's program. And then from that, it just kind of trickles down to 13, 9, 6, and 5 as far as the citations. So I think we have a good handle on that right now. And this is part of our precision policing mission. So we collaborated as part of our vision to be One Durango with the community. We're collaborating with many partners around town, but one is the Community Investment Alliance, who you see often in these council meetings, and MANA on camping protocol. So we are notifying each of them each time we locate a camp, and they promptly seek resources and connect with community partners for the occupants. And we will continue working with them if they can give us relevant timelines for any change or any adjustments that we need to make. We have our timelines, especially with the waterways or near the river, near communities, near schools. There's all these things we work within. We have specific timelines, and we have specific timelines on how long we keep their property, where we keep their property, and when we release their property. And we're working with this group, and if they have realistic momentum in any direction, we can kind of change those timelines and work with this group as well. Just wanted to recognize Officer Dole, Officer Meisner, and Sergeant Halleck. They were selected for the Southwest Post redesign program. And there's nobody in Southwest Colorado that's part of this, this project. So Colorado Post is the Peace Officer Standards and Training in Colorado, and it sets and maintains law enforcement standards. It ensures officers are prepared ethically and effectively promoting safer and more just communities. So we're proud of Officer Dole, Officer Meisner, and Sergeant Halleck for their leadership in the redesign project. They actually signed up for this on their own accord and weren't directed to. So few mid-size or small agencies have representation, yet we have 3, and our strong relationship with Post that was really started with Bob Bramer reflects their respect for our adaptive and evolving culture. And they call us all the time to discuss issues when new legislation and whatnot comes out. So lastly, the core team, such a great program, and it was approved by council, and we continue to get positive feedback throughout the community on this team's work, especially on the pre-work that they do before a critical incident occurs. Their numbers remain steady, about 70 calls per service per month. As you can see, sometimes it's less than 50, sometimes it's more than 100, but it averages about 70. And statistics show that we don't really have need for growth in this program at this time, but just sustaining the program and gratitude for it. That's all I have at this time, and I'm open for any questions.
Thank you. Any questions?
I assume the food trucks, Chief, are just more like crimes of opportunity. Are they in the same area that they're hitting the food trucks, or are they kind of just going to other random areas where their food trucks are being stored?
It's mostly in the same areas, and they're stealing the same things. And so anytime you have any type of a crime, you try to look, and there's some things I'm probably not going to share because, as I said, we have a plan. However, you know, you want to look if it's you know, people that work at an area, if they're sharing information, or there's a lot of different things you look at to try to pin it down. And we have a lot of specifics in these thefts, and they happened last year as well, around the same exact time. And so, you know, as we continue to advance with technology and able to pinpoint, and really what has been most effective is working with the managers as well.
I was curious, is there any kind of update on violence against police officers?
So we're continuing, the trend isn't as high, but we're continuing to see the trend. And realistically, and I was talking to ACM Bramer a couple of weeks ago, and last night I just finished with the legislature. They're trying to limit our capacity to sentence as a municipality, and kind of gets rid of some of our home rule and the uniqueness of a home rule city. But one of the things we faced in 23 and 24 was, as I mentioned before, was anything below 4 grams in narcotics. It could be fentanyl, meth, heroin, anything 4 grams and less can be a misdemeanor in charge. And so we started to see the rise then, but I think we've seen a drastic rise within the last year, but looked at alcohol and drug crimes as a serious increase. And one thing that we're really trying to work on is work with the Colorado Chiefs of Police and the legislature to get some movement there. And also we have some, you know, working on some things locally as well.
Thank you.
Thanks for your report.
Thank you.
All right, next up we have our Library Services Department report.
And I will make dumb jokes because Tom needs a second.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so I was going to get a book published, but they said I couldn't publish my book on penguins. They said I had to use paper.
Get it? Yeah.
Yeah. There we go.
Uh,
All right. Saved by the Tom. Hi, everyone. I'm Luke Alvey Henderson, Library Director. We fall squarely under safety and quality of life. We had a good month. You can see that we added a bunch of new stuff and we circulated pretty dead even with the past 2 months being dead even with 2024. We're very happy with that. As you can see, over 30,000 items circulated. That's more than one per city resident. And we don't want explosive growth that goes beyond our capacity to meet the needs of. Programming and outreach, we saw a pretty flat month for the month of February. We had really great numbers, as you can see, but not higher than February of last year. It was about dead even as well. However, we did see a nice increase in outreach, but with 50, that's not a huge number anyway. So most months, if you'll notice, see a trend of increased programming attendance. This one was just pretty flat. I do want to highlight, though, our GOAL program. That was our first ever program that we had simultaneous English interpretation. It was a Spanish language program with simultaneous English interpretation, which was nice, and hope to have more in the future. We had a small increase in reference questions. The only thing I think that's notable at reference is for the past 3 months, I've noticed the fluctuation being less severe. We have a slightly different method that we're capturing reference question, and it seems like this one might be working so that we can see steady changes. If you'll remember from past months, I've mentioned that we would see a big high, a big low, and it wouldn't meet with the rest of the numbers we saw. Like we'd have highs and everything else and a low in that, which doesn't make a lot of statistical sense. So we're hoping that continues and that we can see a steadier trend and we can start benchmarking more effectively. We did see an increase in interlibrary loan requests, which is noteworthy further on, and we continue to see good cardholder use. I mean, people every single month, we just have several hundred people get a new card, and as you can see, a good proportion of those are out in the county and other, which would be other state holders who don't live in the county. And our last major area is library space. We saw a 16% increase in visitors, and we saw our first decrease in public room reservation in over 2 years. A slight decrease, but that's good because we are at capacity. So we'll see another increase over this month. I went a little quickly through the statistics because I have an update on the Institute of Museum and Library Services. That is a federal agency that helps do funding for programs nationwide and through state grants gives monies to libraries all over the nation and is essential funding for small rural libraries. For some libraries, the few $1,000s they get is their collection budget for the year for new items. They have been put on administrative leave as of Monday of this week. So that was yesterday. And they have no clear direction on how long that will last. Internally, they have several staff members who have told the press that they expect many of half of their staff to be let go. If you'll remember, I sent an article to City Council, but I haven't had a chance to talk about this publicly. 2 weeks ago, there was a notification that they were an agency that was going to be required to reduce services to just their statutory requirements. That's kind of a 1-2 punch because that's kind of nebulously defined, and we're not sure what that's going to be. And those statutory requirements sunset in September of this year. So there's no telling what the long-term future is for that agency if there's not new legislation. I'm working very frantically to try to get the specific local impact that we're going to have. For instance, we have about a $16,000 grant this year that is through the state. We have already spent it, but we have yet to be reimbursed for it. And we don't know as of today whether we will be this year. That is a cost we can safely incur, as well as with the deletion of the $16,000 to $17,000 that we may or may not receive next year. The other key expense we're concerned about is what's interlibrary loan. That's where we get library books from other libraries and send out library books to other libraries. That service that we use is currently operated through the state library through a program called SWIFT. So if SWIFT were to end, we would have to go to another service which has different fee structures And we're currently working on contingency planning to see what those fee structures would be so we can be transparent in our budgeting and what we're going to be planning. We do know it will be more. We don't know how much more. And there are some just logistical concerns. The reason we're not currently on that and on Swift is because it doesn't communicate with our catalog. And so we're going to have to find ways to either get it to communicate with our catalog or pay more. Of course, the other costs for the state library are they do the annual statistics. That would be not something we could afford to collect otherwise. And they also do a lot of trainings, which are given to the public, library public for free. That's going to be additional costs. And of course, they also have, consulting, which, we either would not get done, have to pay consultants for, or more likely would increase my staff time by 2 to 3-fold when I have to reach out to multiple libraries, as opposed to talking to the staff at the state library that has all that information handled right there. And so it's not great news. And the most frustrating part is we just don't know what we don't know yet. But we're working to stay involved with all stakeholders so that as soon as there is available information, we can communicate with the public and council and the county commissioners the exact budgetary impacts we assume for this year and for the next 3 years. And happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Is there anyone we can contact to advocate on behalf of the Durango Public Library and libraries nationwide?
Yeah, I can absolutely send an email to you, but there's several petitions out there. But most directly is, our state legislature, if we're looking at funding from Colorado, and, the Senate and House of Representatives, because the Senate and House of Representatives are who are going to be necessary for putting in continued funding or clearer legislation to fund the IMLS, because that is where, that is coming from. And so that would be of the most paramount importance for the public to know that if they feel like that they want to see libraries, especially programs for those who are blind and programs for indigenous populations on reservations, and for those who are homebound, those will be very defunded and some won't exist at all without the IMLS.
I had my city council office hours at the library today and it was packed. Every table was taken next to me. So it'll be a detriment to Durango if we lose funding for in really any capacity. But any other questions for Luke?
Yeah, just a quick one. So how much of the budget is that percent-wise that you think we may be at loss for?
So the percentage is going to be relatively low for us, and it's going to be relatively high for smaller libraries like Dolores or Silverton, where they have much smaller budgets. So we are not going to try to say that this is some sort of existential threat to Durango Library. It just means we'll buy less electronic books. We'll spend a little more of our own money on training than is currently free. And so we do not expect it to be prohibitive for us, with the exception of possibly interlibrary loan. It's just too soon to tell. That could be expensive enough that, okay, that's 20 or 30 grand that we're taking out of collections or staff training or travel, wherever we end up doing it. So we'll have those hopefully pretty soon. We're working really hard to get the contingency, but part of it is we can't really get accurate. We can get ranges because it's very possible, because librarians are such a plucky bunch, that what we're going to see is this cooperative that's provided by the state doesn't exist, and a new cooperative comes up of groups of libraries or other charities. That's going to be timed down, and it is going to be a cost, and it is going to be more expensive than what we have currently, but we will have a range of costs hopefully within the next 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up we have reliable infrastructure and community connectivity, the transportation department with Sarah.
We're a less plucky bunch in the transportation. All right, good afternoon, Council. Sarah Hill, Transportation Director, excuse me. Excuse me. So today I plan to roll out our Durango Outside pilot project, and this is going to serve on-demand microtransit to recreation facilities in Durango. I also have to give a quick funding caveat. Unfortunately, our state's joint legislative, or it's our state legislature's joint budget committee, just voted to eliminate $71 million in local transit programs across the state. So it's unclear whether this project is actually going to be impacted or not. It's a little bit, we're still trying to get some direction from CDOT about that. But they did say that they will, quote, endeavor to keep projects that are already or soon to be underway moving forward. So I'm going to cross my fingers and go ahead and give you the update on what our intent for this program is. We did receive a $50,000 grant from CDOT's Office of Innovative Mobility to launch this project. It's expanding, like I said, on-demand microtransit service, specifically to recreational areas this summer. The project is solving two main problems. These pictures here illustrate kind of the dangerous parking congestion that can accumulate at some of our facilities here. Pictured here on the left is illegal parking on Animas View Drive for folks accessing Oxbow Park. And then on the right is Lake Nighthorse. You see similar issues at trailheads and put-in locations all over town. And then a second issue we're trying to solve is that there is no transit access to some of our recreation amenities like Lake Nighthorse. So for those 76% transit dependent riders that we have that use transit, they don't have reliable access to enjoy those amenities. So the service is planned to launch on June 1st, intended to operate daily from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. throughout the summer. The on-demand rides can be booked on the Durango app, exactly like the microtransit evening service operates, and they're $2 a ride. The locations that are going to be served are listed here: Lake Nighthorse, river put-ins and takeouts within city limits, and trailheads in city limits, with one notable exception that we have expanded the zone to include the Colorado Trail at Junction Creek. This is just a reminder that construction begins next month for the College and 8th Safety Project. The project has moved to the purview of the CIP division for construction oversight. So they're going to be conducting some outreach regarding the construction phasing and schedule. And this is my last slide, but I do have several parking updates that I wanted to bring before you today. We are excited to announce that the option to pay for parking with your cell phone is live, rolling out as we speak. You're going to see parking meters being stickered throughout the week. So you can download the Park Mobile app, and the option is available at all on-street meter locations and the Durango Transit Center. Park Mobile charges a 40-cent convenience fee. That revenue does not come to the city of Durango. That is just strictly their cost of doing business. If you do want to avoid that charge, all the old methods of paying still apply. So you can use coins, debit, credit cards, and gym cards at all the meters. But using the app, you are going to be able to remotely add time, keep track of your time, and pay on your cell. So then next up, we're getting ready to launch our parking program for local employees, and that's going to begin on May 1st. Council, you approved this program through your discretionary use of the lodger's tax, and the intent of it is to provide affordable parking options for downtown employees within the central business district, to reduce the impact of parking on neighborhoods adjacent to downtown, and also to support thriving local businesses by improving access for our downtown customers. So this is being rolled out as a pilot project as well. That's May 1st through October 31st. And permits are available for $20 a month for each employee downtown. Those permits are going to be eligible at all city parking lots. So that includes the transit center and then the 3 lots on East 2nd Avenue, as well as 91 on-street meter locations at areas that are underutilized in the program. So those are highlighted in green on this map on the screen. West of Narrow Gauge, College Drive, 7th, 8th, and 9th Street, and then on Main from 12th Street to 14th Street and on 13th Street. So moving on to parking garage feasibility, when council passed the Downtown Next Step resolution this fall, you were seeking a cost estimate for that project. There's also conversation about desire for a cost analysis of a potential parking structure in the future. So we have very broad general estimations of what a parking garage would cost us, but we haven't done any real feasibility or analysis in 25 years. So we're taking the first step to get some information for you. We are issuing a request for quotes for a feasibility study and financial analysis for structured parking. When we have the response to those quotes, I'll be bringing those back to council for your direction if you want to pursue that study. Some of you remember the parking management plan recommends a number of solutions to redistribute parking in our downtown supply. One of the solutions that we've already implemented is this enhanced demand-based pricing. That is during peak season, which is defined as May 1st through October 31st. Demand-based pricing is just a strategy that increases the meter rates at really high demand locations, hoping to get turnover and utilize some of the lesser used areas of town. Tonight, this is just a reminder to the community that on the blocks that have really high demand this summer, you will see a slight rate increase on those meters, and there's no meter in town will surpass $1.50 an hour per resolution. And then also there is a significant amount of cheap and available on-street parking. You can go to durangoco.gov/parking, and there's an interactive map that shows where all of the usually vacant spots are. And then just lastly, I want to welcome Tracy Schonger to her new role as the parking operations manager. She's pictured here on the slide. She's been with our department for 14 years, and most of that time has been spent in the parking division in different roles. So excited to work with her in this capacity and for you all to get to know her better as well. Questions?
Do you have any ideas on how you're going to promote the employee parking program, just to get it out there to all the businesses? And
yeah,
I've heard
we'll
feedback.
definitely utilize our partnerships with BID, Local First, and the Chamber. But then also I've had some conversations with business owners that had some success with programs like this in the past, where they actually work together to try to encourage downtown businesses to participate in the program as well. So we'll probably lean pretty heavily on our business community as well to get the word out.
I was talking to Tim, and BID, he was saying that BID was going to start organizing like a block head person with BID, like every block of downtown has like a leader.
Yeah.
Maybe that person could help like distribute it within the block. And then maybe Clancy, I think she has a downtown next steps email list. Maybe that would be
Absolutely.
a good way to.
Yeah, we will blast it out there. We are going to be presenting at the BID next week as well to give them information.
Awesome. Any other questions for Sarah?
I do. I have a question. Thank you, sir, for that report. Okay, so my question has to do with the parking garage feasibility study. Are you, aware when they first proposed the transit station that was supposed to be garage parking? Is that going to be included there?
Absolutely. Yeah, we're listing, so in our request for quotes, we're providing all of the resources that we have, oh my gosh. Anything parking garage gets what? I know, sorry, parking garages get me really excited. No. Any resources that we have that have any relativity to like land use or previous studies or any sites that have been identified in the past. We just don't have anything recent enough to rely on for actual cost estimates right now. So I did get some of the documents for the parking garage concept from Brookie and Oz, which was the firm that did the transit center. So that'll be part of the request for quotes as well.
Okay, thanks.
Great.
Can
Thank
I-
you very much.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yep.
Just to follow up, I apologize, when the roll call was, the microphone was not allowed to be turned on, but it works. My question is following up on Councillor Yazzi's question. Do you understand that there is no lots identified in the feasibility study and cost estimate, or are there lots identified?
So are you referring to the feasibility study from 2000, from the year 2000?
No, what you're currently updating us on.
Okay, yeah, we don't have, we have sites that have been considered in the past, but we don't have any concept cost for any of those locations. I would say like the furthest along that we are is the site at the transit center. There are conceptual designs for a parking garage with that building, but we don't have costs associated with that.
So what is exactly being done then under this update, the parking garage feasibility?
We are putting out quotes to see if there are more than one site that we should be evaluating for access, and then we're asking for concepts that are able to give us some preliminary cost estimate, and they should identify things like ingress, egress, number of spaces, a market analysis of like the different parking demand, vacancy throughout the community, and there's a pretty long list of questions that we have to ask that I'm happy to share with the council if you all want to take a look at what we're seeking.
And so this is basically a blank question to a consultant to identify lots potentially, and then develop concepts for those lots and cost estimates.
Well, we are, this is a pretty common first step in developing a plan if we are looking for a parking garage for the community. I've done a lot of research about other communities and how they choose site locations, how they budget for it, how they decide whether it's a worthwhile investment for the community to make. And we're not in uncharted territory. This is a process that has a lot of folks ahead of us that have done this with some great success.
So yeah, I'm going to ask the question again. So is this basically for a consultant to identify properties in our city and then look at egress and possibilities and concepts and make cost estimates?
Yes, we're looking for potential sites where a parking garage makes sense for access and cost and topography. We do have the transit site that has been identified that's going to be included in it. We definitely want to do our due diligence and make sure that we look at all of our different options. And then, yes, we are asking for conceptual cost estimates so that council and the community can have numbers to have the conversation about whether this is an investment that we want to make moving forward.
Okay, well, thank you for clarifying. Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you very much. Moving on, we have our Aviation Department monthly report. Tony?
Good afternoon, Council. Tony Beccari, Aviation Director at the Durango La Plata County Airport. Do a brief update on airport activity. Just running through the numbers here these are through February for the most part. You can see overall traffic is starting off the year strong, building off a record 2024. We were up 10% over 2024 year to date through the first 2 months of the year. I would note January was very strong. We were up 13% and we saw a 7% year over year increase in February. Still very strong growth, but that's actually the slowest singular year over year growth month we've seen since June of 2023. Just a single month sample size and far from a negative movement that we've seen, but just something to keep an eye on that's indicative or consistent with national trends. We saw February was the first down month year over year on national TSA screen traffic since the pandemic. That's really more indicative of economic uncertainty and some turbulence we've seen nationally in the last 60 days or so. So we'll have to see what that trend means moving forward, but just a little bit of an early warning sign that some of the extreme growth rates that we've seen in particular in Durango might be starting to slow just a little bit. Overall numbers across the board otherwise very strong, seeing parking lot rental car activity consistent with overall traffic numbers, general aviation and air freight also in those same type of ranges. Here you can just see visually the first 2 months of the year. You can see that February number was inching a little bit back closer to the 2024 baseline, as I mentioned. On the airline route network, no major updates here. You can see the April flight schedule. April is actually our slowest month of the year at DRO. Tends to fall kind of squarely in the shoulder season. We see lower levels of visitation in particular during the month. So correspondingly, the airlines have a slightly skinny schedule, particularly with American reducing their Dallas frequencies down to 2 daily. That'll pop back up in May and then ramp up very strongly once we get into June to peak season. Just yet another reminder, our expanded Houston service will kick off here on Memorial Day weekend, starting on Saturday, Sunday service. And then once we hit the 26th of June, that'll turn into a daily flight through mid-August. So looking forward to launching that into a daily capacity this summer. And then also American Airlines will be back dabbling with some mainline Airbus A319 service here this summer as well on limited Saturday service to continue to test the market for larger aircraft implementation. And then just wrapping up on a couple of project updates. The terminal expansion project continues to move along nicely. Phase 1B still on track for an initial opening of the new baggage claim and arrivals space in the August or September timeframe is our current estimate. That project is moving along very swiftly. Exterior finishes are starting to go up. Roofing is nearly complete. Interior mechanical, electrical, and plumbing is largely roughed in. So the project is moving along very, very swiftly. So we're pleased with where we're at on that one. We also, in the month of March, broke ground on a large-scale wastewater system upgrade project for the airport, addressing one of our key utility systems that'll run through the summer. And then also we took delivery on an aircraft rescue firefighting truck that we've been waiting about 18 months for delivery through the long manufacturing process. So I'm happy to see that roll in a couple of weeks ago. We're working through a testing and commissioning process right now and look to put that vehicle firmly in service in the next month to month and a half or so. So exciting time for the aircraft rescue firefighting team at the airport. That'll be replacing a 1985 unit that's our current reserve ARF truck. So a 40-year service life is well ready for retirement in the sense of the ARF truck. And then our smaller projects here, I won't go through all of these, just a couple of highlights. Our next phase of parking lot expansion has been successfully bid and awarded. We have a pre-construction meeting scheduled within the next two weeks and look to start that project in May or June. That'll add about 150 parking spaces to our main parking lot, continuing to expand our parking inventory to match our growth that we've seen at the airport. And aside from that, I'll kind of skip past these. Just a couple of photos to wrap up here showing continued progress on the terminal project. What you're looking at on the front with the unfinished insulation there, those are front windows looking from the future curbside into the baggage makeup area. And then the interior shot you can see with the large clear story windows and lighting area that will ultimately be part of that future baggage claim and arrival space. And lastly, just wrapping up, quick update on economic impacts. So every 5 years, the Colorado Department of Transportation, CDOT, Aeronautics Division conducts a large-scale economic impact study for the entire aviation system in the state of Colorado. So in that, as part of that study, they look at each individual public use airport, Durango included. And so that study was just published within the last month. And just like to share those overall results. You can see here on the page, just noting the continued strong economic engine that DRO is for not just Durango and La Plata County, but for the entire Four Corners region. You can see our total economic impact is estimated through this study at about $342 million annually, in supporting over nearly 2,000 total jobs in the community. That's a mix of direct employment at the airport, as well as the impacts of visitor spending and the impacts of being able to support folks in the community who rely upon the airport for business travel needs and employment needs. So just further reiterating the major economic impact of the airport and its crucial role in our economic ecosystem. With that, I'd take any questions.
Excellent. Thanks, Tony. Any questions? You're always on it, to the point. All right.
Wow.
Moving
Thank you.
on. Public Works Department monthly update with show and tell.
I didn't want to disappoint with no show and tell, so the guys pulled through. Cut me some pipe this afternoon. Well, good afternoon, Mayor, Council. Laura Rick with Public Works. Public Works is under reliable infrastructure, community connectivity, of course. In our water division and distribution, the Ball Lane Pump Station, which sends water up to this Timberline subdivision, is finally connected to the city's fiber network. And so for decades, this tank and pump station have been talking to each other over some real unreliable patched together phone lines, literally patched together with tape. So this is a really big deal because our operators, myself included, have spent many nights babysitting this tank and filling it manually every couple hours to make sure that everybody up there has water. Also a big deal because the pump station that serves that tank is an underground pump station. So technically it's a confined space. And anytime there's an issue at 2 a.m., you have to call in 2 people to be able to enter that space. So this is a big deal. We actually now have vision and control of that pump station from our treatment plant. And it's got alarming now. It's 2025. Welcome. So We're really excited about this. The operators have also been working on repairing some water damage in one of our control vaults and reinstalling a valve actuator at the new Florida outfall that needed to be reconfigured so that it could be controlled through our SCADA system. And we've already started sending Florida water around the reservoir to the golf course and the college for irrigation, if you can believe it. The C&D crew performed a ton of preventative maintenance over the last couple months, emergency callouts, including valve exercising, sewer rotting, and camera work, and water main flushing and performing locates. They repaired 2 major breaks that we've got pictures here. They occurred on old clay sewer pipe. One was on Willow and one was on Delwood. And while digging to install a new gate valve on 7th and 4th, the crews actually discovered a water break that hadn't reached the surface yet. It was just flowing underground, and we didn't know that it was happening. So while they were digging, they were able to repair that and get that new valve installed, and that just makes sure that that area of town has more ability to be isolated in smaller areas. The meter crew replaced 88 meters last month, 56 of which were under homes, so they actually brought them out and put them in proper meter pits outside. And they replaced a service line on Rio Vista Circle that was leaking. When they uncovered the service line, they found it to be old galvanized steel, so they abandoned that line and put in a proper copper service line instead. And we've got a cool picture of Jesse. He removed a tree and a root system from a manhole up on Metz Lane. The Streets Division helped us keep safe during February snowstorms, plowing over 1,800 miles of roadways around Durango, and they removed 228 dump truck loads of snow just from downtown alone. And if they weren't busy plowing, they were repairing 568 manhole potholes around town and performing camera work on the storm drains to gather data for upcoming capital improvement projects. In trash and recycling, we welcomed a new team member, Matt Archibald. Matt's already taken his test and passed his CDL. That's huge to just start and take your test and pass right away. So he got his Class B license, and we're really proud of him for doing that so quickly. The team completed their annual recycled material report and submitted that to CDPHE, and that's part of their annual compliance with state health department regulations. The managers and supervisors attended the recent reasonable suspicion class that we held with other leadership throughout the city, and we all attended the new purchasing policy rollout meeting. In capital improvements, I'm sure you are all aware construction season started in March with Animas River Trail Segment B starting on March 3rd, and that's from Santa Rita to Albertsons. County Road 250, 251, and Durango Mesa Park Road and Water Line started mid-March. North College started yesterday, and the wastewater plants Digester 2 and West Grit Chamber are going to be receiving a new liner in early May. So the picture in the top right corner is one of the operators standing inside of the digester looking toward the access. And you can see those big sheets coming off of the wall and on the floor. So the picture to the left with the pretty pink liner, that's what it will look like on the inside. College and 8th multimodal project is going to start in early May, and West 9th Mill and Overlay will be starting. Might push that one back to a little bit later in the spring, maybe summer, to make sure that coordination with all the other projects that are happening isn't too much of an impact to traffic. And we don't have firm start dates yet for Santa Rita Entrance Road quite yet, and no firm start date on that West 9th Street, but once we do, we'll let everybody know and get that public messaging out. Rockridge Pump Station is ready to go out to bid, so we'll likely be starting that in the late fall, and that project will likely go into 2026. All right, in engineering, the public hearing was completed for the County Road 250, 251 annexation. The permitting and Animas River Trail detour for segment B work was completed and approved. And since creating this presentation, this detour is actually changed again because the train will be starting replacing their tracks at College right by McDonald's starting on Sunday. So they'll be shut down. That road will be shut down for 10 days. So we've rerouted the Animas River Trail up to 9th Street. We held our third stormwater focus group meeting in mid-March, where we discussed in more detail the funding option for creating a stormwater utility fee. And the engineering division received a new cool hybrid get-around car to replace our old travel van that didn't get great gas mileage. And lastly, we're filling up our training calendar already for this summer with trainings for our operators here in-house and around the Four Corners region, hosted at Santa Rita Water Reclamation Facility, and now co-hosted by Mesa Verde Water. So the demand for these trainings is so great that we now have wait lists and requests to double the training opportunities or hold trainings again later on. We're continuing to work with Project Run up at Fort Lewis to conduct an interview of different water and wastewater systems around the region to gauge the need for water wastewater workforce programs at Fort Lewis. And so far, every system has expressed significant need in the program, and they want to be a partner in the program. Bless you. Public Works will be attending the career fairs coming up at Fort Lewis and San Juan College. And we've been working closely with PIO to make sure the public stays informed about upcoming traffic impacts from all the construction happening. So before questions, I wanted to explain what these pipes are. So this one here, this is cast iron pipe that's not lined on the inside. So if you can see on the inside, it's filled with tuberculation, which essentially is like a clogged artery. So as that corrosion starts to happen, the pipe gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and it increases the friction loss through the pipe. The next one is concrete lined ductile iron pipe, and then plastic PVC or C900 pipe. So this cast pipe that's not lined, is really, really common in our system. And it's mostly from pre-1960s. So that pipe was just cut out last week. The one next to it is from that big break we had on Clovis. And that ductile iron pipe, more flexible than cast iron. It's actually lined so you don't get that tuberculation on the inside. So it remains smooth, but it can still break with freeze thaw. And then that's basically being phased out by the plastic pipe, the C900. So kind of a chronological order of what's in our system for water pipe. Okay, any questions?
Thank you for the presentation. Questions?
Yeah, thank you. That was excellent. So what's the lifeline on that blue pipe?
It's similar, so like a minimum of 50 years.
Okay. And I was curious on the digester number 2 on the liner replacement. How long has that liner been there? Do you know? Like, can you guess?
Since the wastewater plant was renovated, so about 5 years.
Okay, about 5 years.
Yeah.
Is that a normal?
Nope. So that was very unexpected for that liner to fail. And if you remember, it failed in the clarifiers, the grit chambers, the all of like the pathways to those things, and in the digesters as well.
Okay. And we're going to prevent that now?
Yep. So the stuff that what we have done is we're replacing this old defective liner with liner that has 10-year warranty on it.
Okay.
Thank you. So the pink liner here, that has a 10-year warranty on it. So making sure that whatever we're putting in is going to actually last.
And then one more question, you on the 88 water valve replacements that were under the houses. Okay, were those intentionally built over by the contractor, or was that something we weren't aware of back then?
When they were put under the house?
Yeah, you said you brought them outside?
Oh, yeah. So some of the meters are not, they're either not working, they're up for replacement, maybe they were leaking, but when they were found to be under the house, that's a confined space technically for our crews to go into. And so it's better to bring them out toward the curb, put them in a proper meter pit, and that way we can access it without having to access the home, without having to go into a crawl space, a confined space, and putting our crews at any sort of risk of, at the very least, getting spiders on their head.
Alrighty, and are those meters satellite or are they just regular mechanical? The one
They're just like the rest of them, where they're set up for radio communications.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course. Right, any other
Thank you.
questions?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Next up, we have strategic workforce development, workforce update.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Council. I'm Kayla Grimm, the Marketing and Recruitment Specialist within the Human Resources Department, here with a recruitment marketing update. To directly support the city's strategic goal of attracting and retaining diverse, skilled, and engaged staff members, the Human Resources Department has prioritized reimagining the employer brand and recruitment experience as a core component of our mission and vision. We've been actively working to enhance our recruitment strategy by optimizing our online presence, improving job description accuracy and accessibility, implementing Google Analytics for detailed tracking, and making local connections through events and outreach. These efforts are aimed at increasing efficiency, attracting a diverse candidate pool, expanding our reach and brand awareness, and they're reflected in the data that we're collecting. So all of our applications are collected through our durangoco.gov/jobs career page. Our careers page consistently attracts the highest volume of user traffic on the City of Durango website. This quarter, it contributed to 14.5% of overall website traffic with 94,029 views, which is up over 15% from Q1 2024 when we had 81,291 views. Our top traffic sources continue to reflect where we're sharing our posts, which is across governmentjobs.com, Indeed, LinkedIn, Mountain Careers, Handshake, Glassdoor, and more. We're also running one-off paid campaigns where necessary and posting to industry-specific job boards. Our average time to hire for this quarter is at 35 days. Which is 41% faster than our peer organizations within the public sector who are averaging around 60 days. We benchmarked this number off of 15 similar sized municipal organizations. This is also 27% faster than the 48 days we were averaging Q1 of 2024. So looking at Q1 of last year to Q1 of 2025 so far, we are seeing positive trends across many of our key performance indicators. Vacancy rate down 25%, recently filled full-time positions are up 6%. Jobs posted on our career page over 30 days are down by 59%. That just means they're not sitting up there, we're closing them out. We saw a large increase in our internal promotion rate at the start of the year, up 95%. Alongside our part-time to full-time employee transfers, which is up 62%. Our turnover rate is down by 30%, an average of 0.74 for the quarter so far, a cumulative total for January and February of 1.48%. You will see that our multi-language program and our referrals paid totals are currently lower than last year. I just wanted to point out that I haven't yet pulled our numbers from March, so I do expect to see those a little higher than they're looking right here. And I should have those numbers in the coming week. Looking at job post performance, comparing Q1 2024 to Q1 2025, we're seeing our total number of jobs posted up 20%. Our total number of applicants correspondingly are also up from 838 to 932. The average applications per job and views per job are slightly lower than last year. And again, these numbers were last pulled on March 15th, so it's not including the last 2 weeks. So I do expect those totals also to look a little higher than you're seeing here. Some of our top performing jobs for this quarter have been our recreation programs manager over in Parks and Rec. That one was posted for 2 weeks and received over 1,100 views in those 2 weeks with 62 applicants. Our tourism and destination services manager likewise posted for just 2 weeks and received over 1,000 views with 48 applicants. And our community development admin specialist was also posted for just 2 weeks with 784 views and 40 qualified applicants. In fall of last year, we launched NeoGov's Attract feature, which is a candidate relationship management software that supports our recruiting efforts. I'm really excited about this. Through this tool, we're able to source potential candidates directly from governmentjobs.com, so users who are looking for jobs within government and have that relevant experience. We can send out custom targeted email campaigns, design landing pages, blog posts, send out articles, have custom forms. There's also an option to enable a virtual recruiter to help in the background for any low performing positions. We can create talent pools and view real-time analytics to see what's working well. And so far we've seen positive results. This example is that we were able to successfully recruit and hire our new public works solid waste manager with this tool. What you're seeing on the slide is a preview of the custom email campaign that was sent out to government jobs users that had the relevant experience and qualifications. This led to the job post, and that's what's going on the chart there. Sorry, the screen disappeared. That is a view of our Google Analytics, and on the day that we sent out that campaign, we saw 415 users going and looking at the job. So that was a great success and spiked our traffic and again resulted in a hire. We're also excited to use this tool, the custom forms and landing pages at our upcoming recruitment events so that we can create candidate pools and keep in touch with those candidates that we talk to. Overall, we're confident that the tool will continue to help us improve our marketing efforts and fill positions faster and with qualified applicants. And in addition to our online reach, we're also working to build in-person connections and engagement within the community. In February, we attended the La Plata County Futures Fair that was hosted by the Southwest Colorado Education Collaborative. At the Futures Fair, Human Resources, Public Works, Parks and Rec, and the Police Department met with over 400 middle and high school students from Silverton, Durango, Bayfield, and Ignacio who were exploring and learning about local career pathways. So that was great. And at this event, I also met with representatives from the School to Work Alliance program, or SWAP. And this program assists young adults with mild to moderate needs and employment to progressively build skill sets that will contribute to successful career pathways. So I've been in contact with 2 of the SWAP specialists to help educate their students about career possibilities at the city. And we're also looking at possibilities for job shadowing and building out that partnership. Lastly, we are in the height of spring recruitment and will be attending the upcoming career fairs alongside other city departments like Public Works. We'll be going to the Fort Lewis College's Springboard Fellows Networking event. We were there last year and we're excited to be invited back this year. The following day, we'll be at the Career Expo. We'll go to San Juan College the next week. And in early May, we're going to Bayfield High School's Hire Me Fair. So we're excited. Busy couple months coming up, but we're excited to connect with the potential candidates and showcase the city's current offerings. And that is all I have today. Thank you.
Great. thank you for all your efforts. Any questions? Excellent.
Thank
All
you.
right. Well, thank you, everyone. Now adjournment till 5:30. See you then.